Are you wanting to help somebody else and you're like feeling like, yeah, I feel like there's something I could do to help them change? Well, today we're going to talk about this and the approach to this I found most useful. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra point for you then as well. As always, if you want a particular topic to be discussed on this podcast, you can leave a comment in the show notes below or message me on social media. My links are also in the show notes below. Okay, so I was thinking about this in terms of a few recent events. And the example that comes up for me is there's one of my mentors is a guy called Peter Sage. I consider him a mentor. I don't work one-to-one with him or anything like that. I've been in lots of his groups, and actually he's a former podcast guest, and he's probably my favourite person to listen to right now. Just sometimes you can be in different places and someone resonates. Now, I try to share he had a program which is his like entry program. And by the way, anything I've invested in from him is totally worth it. It's worth like 10 times what he charges, even if it's thousands. It's worth 10 times with the value he gives. Anyway, his entry program is around $350. He's British, but he charges in dollars, as he's quite like an international businessman. Now, he was doing an offer on this program, and it is going to supporting people. Yep, just bear with me. He was doing his program for $27 for a Black Friday deal. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. I've got to tell everyone about this. Now, I've done some of his more advanced programs. I started on that one, and I know how life-changing just even the beginner program is. $27, right? Now, I appreciate there is certain places in the world where $27 would be a lot of money. Now, the people I was sharing it with, that's like nothing to them, right? Generally. And I was just so passionate about sharing this work. And I had a friend who's super into her growth, and she's always learning, always growing, and she implements, which is the important thing as well. And she was like, I got it. I was like so happy. Like me and her always sharing stuff, and we really get on. And then I shared with another friend, and he didn't necessarily need any urgent like emotional support or anything like that. And he didn't go for it, which is totally cool. Like, again, I can't do that. And then there was a couple of instances where I could see the person was really struggling and they've been asking for help. And this has been in a couple of cases in my life, and I've seen this across my life. And they're like, I really need some help. And I remember sharing this opportunity with them, and they were very much like, yeah, I can't afford it. I haven't had time to look at it. Yet they're still trapped in their own ways. And I call this out because that's a case with a lot of people, because we say like we want change and an opportunity comes and we don't take it, right? Because like there's some kind of fear. It's usually not the money, by the way. There's usually like, I don't have the certainty that I'm going to be able to do this, which is lying below the money. Obviously if someone gave you like $1 million deal and you weren't like earning 5 figures or anything, that is something to do with the money. Generally though, it's usually just like a high level excuse. It's usually certainty beneath. Now, I see this a lot, and it frustrated me a bit because it was like, I really know this is going to help their life. And there's part of me that's like, I'll just pay for it for you. And I realized if I did that, they would not have the same investment into this or the same focus as even if they just pay $27, right? And then it started making me thinking about when I share stuff, and when sometimes people do jump on board. I was having a conversation with my dad earlier, and I was talking to him about another one of Peter's books, and he was like so interested. And my dad's not necessarily always into growth. He's a very open-minded, great guy, a great human being, and he was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I was just so passionate about this book, and he's like, I want to read it, right? And that's great. I was the example that I'm living this book. Right. And that happens sometimes, it doesn't happen others. And where I've been really caught up on is like, I really wish they bought into this idea, And the $27 course, by the way, I wouldn't make any money on that at all. I was just so passionate about the work, right? It's not something I was even selling. It was just, I saw it as an offer, right? But how many times have you asked yourself or caught yourself asking someone, oh, come on, do this. It's really going to help. Well, what I've learned is you can only be the invitation and the example for people. You can only be you and focus on you and where you want to go and invite them to join you and invite them to opportunities. You can't do much more than that though. Now, I've got some points for you around this on how you can control your emotions because I do appreciate it. You may have someone who really needs some help you love dearly or you care about in your life, or even you just know and you know you got some consideration to them. And it could hurt because you see what could really help them, yet you can't make them change. So I want to share some points with you now. So the first point I'm going to share it kind of recaps a little bit of what I've said, but I want to give you 3 points for this when you want to help someone and you feel like they're not going to make a change, and again you can't control that, is focus on what you want to feel. What do you want to feel in general within yourself? Like, do you want to feel calm? Do you want to feel peaceful? Do you want to feel sad all the time? Probably not. Do you want to feel really angry all the time? Probably not. Yeah, those are our emotions. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to fluctuate between states because we're human beings, right? And obviously, if you're doing it frequently, it might be a bit more of a challenge. Whilst some people, like I've learned from, are like dominantly in like a peaceful, like clear, excited state, and then sometimes they might visit like a bit more of a challenge or anxious state, right? So first of all, focus what's on the dominant feeling you want to feel. Second, be the example of who you want to be to other people and focus on what you can control. So you want to feel calm, you want to feel connected with other people, you want to feel a lot of love. What can you control? Maybe you can meditate every day. Maybe you can just make it a target, like I do, to just give a genuine compliment to someone every single day. And it's not about what they say back. It's not about how they respond. It's about you giving the intention to make someone feel good, and you can only do what you can do. So be the example and focus on what you can control. And then the third one is, rather than telling people what to do and change, what a good quality coach does is ask some of the best questions. So just start honing in on some of your question skills. You don't have to be a coach or anything like that, but just start asking more questions to people like, are you happy with where you're at? What do you feel is like the best move? And sometimes it's going to upset them because it's going to bring out the truth. But the truth, in my experience, sets you free, even if you don't like it, right? They're just inviting people to ask themselves. Now, maybe you're in a place you want to help yourself. Well, ask yourself some very honest questions. Are you, for example, emotionally working out every day? I talk about this a lot. There's a lot of people who say, I'm going to make an episode specifically on self-love next, who say like, I want more self-love. And it's like, are you working on it every single day? Well, no, I just kind of hope it develops. Well, that's like hoping your arms get bigger and not doing any bicep curls or any work on your in the gym on your arms, right? So ask yourself, am I committing to what I can control, even if it's just a little bit each day, on how I could develop? And then asking that to other people, it's like, what is it you want? And how do you feel that the best course of action would be to move forward with that? Asking those kind of quality questions rather than trying to direct people into things to get them to their own answers. Okay, just before we get on to my very final point today, just want to mention, if you have a specific podcast topic you would like me to talk about, then all you got to do is leave a comment below, or you can find me on social media. My handle is in the show notes below. The final point I want to share is, it can be really frustrating, right, when you want someone to change, or you can see something's beneficial to someone and you just can't guide them to it. Well, that's why I would suggest having a forum or a way to express some of your frustrations is really, really healthy, rather than suppressing them and pushing them away. Even if it's like you allow yourself to sit with your own emotion. That's really, really key, by the way. Particularly as men, I found that when I'm able to sit more of my own emotions, I'm able to sit more of other people and connect with other people. So finding a forum or a way to share how you're feeling. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.